Hello there, gorgeous woman. Welcome to part two of Ready to Stop Living in Hypermasculine Energy. Learn how to restore balance and fulfillment. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking all about how hypermasculine energy affects our physical well-being as women and our emotional well-being as well. One thing we want to understand is that when we are constantly in fight or flight mode, it wreaks havoc all over our bodies. It wreaks havoc on our overall health, our menstrual cycles, and it can lead to disrupted, not only disrupted hormones, but something known as adrenal fatigue and even autoimmune issues. And I'm going to talk more about that momentarily. But first, let me introduce myself. If this is your first time hearing me, my name is Oshun. I'm a divine feminine spiritual guide, transformational life coach, and board certified holistic health practitioner. And I help women become radiant and live the best version of themselves by becoming unstuck and unfulfilled and with lives that are lacking joy and pleasure. And I help you become abundant in every area of your life. So we're not talking about just abundance in health, but we're talking about abundance in your wealth, abundance in your health, abundance in your relationships, abundance in self-confidence, your self-worth. It's all about helping you heal and transform and become the best woman you are. And I am here to guide you through that process. And so I want to go right into today's topic where I'm talking about how this hypermasculine energy really affects our body's emotional and physical well-being as women. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the physical well-being. One thing that I want to say is that when I first started on this journey, or not first, but maybe I would say, midway through my journey, um, I, had to resign from a career. My initial career was a teacher, but I have been a teacher for many years, and I had to resign because I burnt out. I had suffered from something called adrenal fatigue. And if there are any women on here who are educators or teachers or just busy in their jobs all the time, it is usually because you're always on the go and you have so much to do. I remember when I was a classroom teacher, I always had so much to do. And on top of all the responsibilities, I was also responsible for those 20 plus little bodies that were in my room that were constantly needing your energy, right? And so for those of us who moms, I know I'm a mom as well, we know one or two or three children, if depending on how many you have, some may have more, can be a drain. But when you have 20 plus bodies, it's like you're a mom on all day long. And so pretty much after some time, I burnt out. I was tired. I was stressed out all the time. My health was not doing well. I was extremely unhappy, and I had to resign from that path for some time. And it was a really hard choice, but it was a lesson that I was being taught at that time about how important it is for us not to really always be living in our masculine energy. And if you don't know what those terms mean, check out part one of yesterday that I spoke about when I define the terms masculine and feminine energy for purposes of uh, this video episode that I'm creating. And so when we think of masculine energy, I'll just give you a brief overview. It's that action-oriented energy we were always doing. We are moving out in the world. We're getting things done. We're making things happen. It's structure, it's logic, and there's nothing wrong with those things. As I mentioned in yesterday's episode, there's nothing wrong with it. We need it. Problem is the keyword is hyper when we're overdoing it. And so I was overdoing it. And during that time when I resigned, I really started to delve into more of understanding feminine energy and understanding how to balance out this way of being that I really had learned from childhood because I was raised by two very strong women who were always doing, right? But had very little time for self-care and self-love and self-nurture and to really nurture that feminine side of themselves of feminine expression and creativity. And so what I learned during this time when I resigned and I started to study more into women's health and hormones, which led me to, learn about women's wombs and women's menstrual cycles. I became a certified menstrual cycle coach as well. And during that time, I learned how our menstrual cycles and hormones work and how they become affected by this hypermasculine energy. And it wasn't until some years later when I started to serve women in the community, helping them with hormone balances as it pertains to their menstrual cycle, that I really started to see the effects of this lifestyle, of this world we're living in, that to me and to a lot of us probably overvalues this notion of being productive, of being assertive, of always doing, of always performing. I mean, it's everywhere we go. Everywhere we go, we see that. Um, and so it's no wonder why we're programmed to think that we need to be that way all the time, and we don't give ourselves a time to just be and fallow and absolutely balance ourselves. And sometimes it requires doing nothing, which is part of the feminine energy. And so back to my stories, when I started to work with clients, and my studies in menstrual cycle awareness and wellness helped me to understand that in our bodies, we actually, as women, are changing, excuse me for that, we are actually changing and shifting every week. Our hormones are fluctuating. They go up and down. See, men's hormones are very different, all right? So men's hormones are more steady, right? They live more on a circadian rhythm. Women, we have both. We have what we call a circadian and infradian rhythm, and the infradian rhythm within us is our menstrual cycle. So every week, your hormones are literally changing. At the beginning of half of your cycle, your hormones are peaking. They're going up. And then towards the second half of your cycle, they go down and they go all the way down and they drop. And that's what causes the bleeding. Maybe I'll do another video to help you really scientifically understand that. But I teach that a lot in my program where I teach women how to balance out health. And so what happens is we live in a society, if you're a mom who works and you have multiple projects, maybe you work, maybe you also have a business, you have children, you have family, you have friends, you social. What happens is that if you're not listening to your body during that second half of your cycle, where your hormones are naturally going down, but you are pushing, 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 you cause hormonal imbalances. And when you have those hormonal imbalances, that's what leads to all of the health problems. It leads to the stress, it leads to the anxiety, it leads to the emotional unhealthiness, because what's happening is you're producing an excess amount of a hormone known as cortisol, which is our fight or flight response hormone. And when this hormone is produced in large amounts, right, it drops down our progesterone levels. And I'm not going to go too much into this because it would become a really deep lesson. But if you do want me to teach more of this lesson, please leave me a message in the comments and I'll make a video specifically about this. Because again, when I was seeing clients, this is the balance that I'm always seeing when I'm in terms of focusing on their health as a board certified holistic health practitioner. So anyway, what happens is that your progesterone levels are dropping and your estrogen levels are at peak. And what happens is you get a lot of these symptoms of diseases that are connected to, or womb diseases that are connected to estrogen dominance. And a lot of these diseases are things such as painful periods, heavy bleeding, PCOS, fibroids, right? Just to name a few of womb disharmonies and reproductive disharmonies that are all connected to these excess levels of estrogen, which are really connected to strong and high amounts of cortisol that are bringing down your progesterone levels, right? Your progesterone levels need to be balance out your estrogen levels. And this is often happening because of the lifestyles we're living. They're causing us stress. So that's what's happening physically. And then what's also happening emotionally is because progesterone is a wonderful hormone for our emotions. As women, it keeps us cool, it keeps us relaxed. What happens is when we have these high levels of stress, we also are not producing those healthy hormones, such as oxytocin, which is the hormone that feels good, right? Brings us more joy, brings us more pleasure. And so our emotional well-being tends to suffer as well. We tend to become very unhappy with our lives. We might be on edge all the time. We might just feel constantly disgruntled and unhappy. And we may not know why. It's a nagging feeling. Chances are it's connected to this imbalance of masculine and feminine energy within your life and how you're conducting yourself as a woman. And so one of the things that you can do to start to turn this around is you can start to listen to the wisdom of your body. This is how I started to heal myself. I had to learn how to listen to the wisdom of your body. And I want you to remember that your body is wise. As women, our bodies are connected to, if this is your first time hearing this, I'm going to teach you a little bit. We're connected to the earth, the seasons. We're connected to the moon. Our wombs and our menstrual cycles are directly connected to the womb. And I teach a lot of this, to the moon. And I teach a lot of this work in my program. So women really learn how to balance and attune to Mother Nature, because for me, and the work that I teach women is all holistic. It is very key that we attune back to the natural rhythms of nature to experience abundance in all areas, because Mother Earth is abundant and prolific, and we are just like her as women. And so I want to just give you some affirmations today to help you think about connecting to your body. One of the things that we want to understand is that as we transform, we have to start to change our beliefs and our thoughts and our habits. And one of the fast ways to do that is through affirmations, because affirmations program us to think differently. We've been programmed to ignore our bodies. We've been programmed to ignore our needs. We've been programmed to overdo, overgo, always perform. And that's why we're burnt out and unhappy. So I want you to start reprogramming yourself by listening to the wisdom of your body. And the way to do that is through affirmations. And affirmations is just statements that you say to yourself during the day to help you remember who you are and to start to align your actions with this new part of you. And so one of the affirmations I want you to say to yourself, you can write it out, you can put these in a journal. I encourage you to put them around your house, especially because that's how you really start to reprogram your mind to heal and transform. And so one of them is, I honor the wisdom of my body. I honor the wisdom of my body. I honor the wisdom of my body. The second affirmation I want you to say to yourself is, I give myself permission to rest and to receive. I give myself permission to rest and receive. I give myself permission to rest and receive. The next affirmation I want you to consider is, my worth is not determined by my productivity. This is a big one because we've been taught that our worth is connected to our productivity, and it's just not true. You are worthy just because you were born. That's it. There's nothing else that you need to do to be worthy. You are worthy because you exist. And so I want you to understand that your worth is not determined by your productivity. So I'm going to say that again. My worth is not determined by my productivity. My worth is not determined by my productivity. And the last one, I want you to understand that a lot of us who live in hypermasculine energy tend to be perfectionists because we always want to get it right. And again, that's just training in an overly male-dominated society. But I want us to get away from that as women, as we heal ourselves and heal our bodies. I am whole and complete just as I am. I am whole and complete just as I am. I am whole and complete just as I am. You are already perfect as you are. You don't need to fix anything all the time. So I want you to repeat these affirmations daily, especially when you feel that you are overexerting yourself and you're pushing yourself too hard. Okay? So as we conclude part 2 of today's video, I want you to understand to begin taking these small steps towards healing your hypermasculine energy today. Start with this. Maybe start taking, drinking some warm sips of tea in the morning, slowing down, right? It's not about overexerting yourself. And it's also not about rejecting your masculine energy, because remember, you need it. It's about restoring balance and harmony between the two energies within yourself so that you can continue to grow and be the most magnificent version of yourself. Okay? And so if this resonates with you, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Leave me in the comments below. What is your experience with this and your understanding of your body, and how living in a male-dominated world where we're constantly taught to be productive and that's what's most valued, how has this affected you? How would you like to change? Tomorrow in part 3, we're going to just talk a little bit more about how do we bring more of the feminine energy into our lives to continue to restore balance and fulfillment. And until next time, gorgeous women, I pray that you have a beautiful and amazing day. May you walk in balance, strength, and grace. I invite you to follow me, like and subscribe, and share this video. Have a